Hello and welcome back to the Department of Reinvention. In today's video I'm going to be looking at the three main different kinds of wood stain. Now I'll be looking at water-based stain, an oil-based stain and a gel-based stain. Now for each of the stains I'll be trying them on a pine, so a softwood, and oak, so a hardwood, just so you can get an idea of what they look like over two different types of wood. At the end I'll also show you all of the pine samples together and all of the oak samples together, just so you can see how different stains appear on different wood. With each stain I will be discussing the pros and cons of that specific type of stain. It's not always a direct comparison. They all have their benefits and their drawbacks. So this is a video not really to endorse any particular kind of stain, but just so you get an idea of what each looks like. As ever, all of the products are linked below in the description. So the water-based stain I'll be using is the Furniture Clinic Wood Stain in Mahogany. So water-based stain is probably the easiest to get hold of in the UK. You can buy it from most DIY and hardware stores, and there's lots of different brands to choose from. I went with Furniture Clinic because they've got a really good reputation. I've used them before, so I thought they would be a really good wood stain company to use for a comparison. So water-based stain is definitely fairly quick to dry, usually within about 10 minutes. They're usually low odour, so they don't smell very strong. They're VOC free and they're usually fairly environmentally safe, but obviously you need to check with the specific stain that you're using. The downsides with a water-based stain is that it can be slightly harder to apply because it can be quite runny, so it's harder to use it on vertical surfaces. Another big downside of water-based is that because it is water-based, it will raise the grain of the wood, which makes it less smooth, and it might need sanding between applications of the stain, which isn't ideal and can look a bit patchy. It also tends to be not quite as hard wearing as other types of stain, and it will need to be sanded before reapplying it if you're restoring a piece that has been treated with wood stain. It also needs a protective top coat, whether that's wax or a varnish, so it's not self-protecting. So that means in future, if you want to restain a piece or restore a piece, you have to strip back that protective coat and also some of the wood to take away the stain, which means it's not the best if you're trying to preserve a piece of furniture. Now for the oil-based stain, I went in with Osmo's Tobacco Stain. So one of the biggest benefits of an oil-based stain is that it does nourish the wood. You don't necessarily have to put on a top coat. It might be beneficial to, but it does have protective qualities just in the stain itself. It forms a protecting, microporous and extremely durable surface, and it offers really good protection against any fluid exposure to the furniture. It's not quite as runny as, say, a water-based stain, so it offers a little bit more control. It's also very high coverage. It's got a really smooth finish, offers good flow and levelling properties, so the final result is really smooth, and you don't have any brush marks or sponge marks when it's dried. Oil-based stain can also last a bit longer than some other stains. It provides a really good quality finish, doesn't tend to crack or flake or peel. A piece that's being treated with an oil-based stain can also be just renovated by applying another coat. You don't have to sand it back to reapply. And it also doesn't raise the grain as it's oil-based. So some of the downsides of oil-based stain, it's very slow drying, so it can take several hours for it to harden. You can buy special hardener additives to make it dry a little bit faster, but you're still looking at a much longer time compared to a gel or water-based stain. Oil-based stains often have slightly higher levels of VOCs, and they'll also have a stronger odour as well. Oil-based stain also tends to be a higher cost as well. So finally we move on to the gel-based stain. So this is by Woodock. Now the benefits of a gel-based stain is that it dries very quickly. It's very easy to control the intensity of the colour. The odour is fairly mild. The consistency allows for quite precise application, so it's easier to apply it to things like vertical surfaces and it's not going to run, so you have a lot less chance of getting drips or runs on the stain. And some gel-based stains you can apply to both porous and non-porous surfaces, so you can actually apply it over already sealed surfaces. Gel-based stains are much harder to get hold of in the UK. I had to go hunting to find a decent gel-based stain in the UK. Obviously in the US there's a lot more availability, and I don't know if the lack of gel-based stain in the UK is just because the product manufacturers haven't entered the UK market, or if there's chemicals in the US stains that aren't legal here. That's also a possibility. With gel stain, there is limited grain penetration because it's a thicker consistency and it dries very quickly. It doesn't get very deep into the wood grain. Now that might be something you like, you prefer how that looks. That's a very individual thing. Some people find certain brands of gel stain aren't as transparent as a wood or an oil-based stain, which can impact how visible the wood grain is. The application technique of gel is also a little bit trickier compared to oil and water. So here you can see the 3 pine panels with the water-based, oil-based and gel-based stains all next to each other. So as I said, it's going to be very individual to you and to your project, which one you think is the best for you. I've used both water and oil-based stains quite a lot before. The gel I'm still fairly new to, but I do actually quite like it. It's a really unusual stain type to work with, and I think it will be quite useful for certain projects. And the top right square of each panel is where I've done the 2 coats, and the bottom right is where it's just a single coat. And you can see that on all 3 there is definitely a difference between a single and second coat. It's a little bit more obvious, I think, perhaps on the water-based than the oil and the gel, but I would say there is still definitely a significant difference between 1 and 2 layers for both of the other 2 stains. And here is the 3 oak panels. Again, the top right of each panel is where there's 2 layers of stain, and the bottom right is where there's 1. You can see there is definitely a difference between 1 and 2 layers, but it's definitely less noticeable compared to the pine. This isn't too surprising, as pine is a softwood, so it's much more absorbent, so it's going to take in a lot more of that stain, so it's going to have more of a deeper absorption of the colour. I really hope this video has been helpful. If you have any questions or any requests for videos you'd like me to do, just pop them down in the comments.